Hey everybody, I'm Meredith Baker for On the Map, Off the Radar, and we're here in Shoreditch at the Sofar Sounds headquarters, which stands for Songs from a Room. It was founded in 2009 by Rafe Offer, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how Sofar Sounds is changing the live music experience. So first off, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you guys are crazy busy over here.
You're welcome. It's good to be here in my office with you.
Yeah, well, it's great to see the office where all the magic happens. Could you explain a little bit about what the concept of Sofar Sounds is for people who might not know?
I was at a gig, and I can't play music like some others, but I can listen. And I was at a gig back in 2009 in London, and I had this moment with two friends where we couldn't hear the band because everybody was talking. We're like, something's wrong with this picture. Why is somebody playing music and we can't hear them? And why are people buried in their phones? And we just had this sort of realization that music had become background noise.
Right.
So we all agreed to leave the pub and go to my friend Dave's house in North London and invite a few people. He was a singer at the time, and just ask people to respect the music and be quiet. And that first gig, and ever since then, has been magical to hear music in a space where it's really just about the music.
Yeah, it's amazing, and as a musician who's played some Sofar gigs myself, it's like a completely different, intimate experience where you feel that everyone is kind of listening to every word you say, which, like you said, at a crowded bar just isn't the case. And so since that initial aha moment a few years ago, how has Sofar Sounds kind of transformed and taken off globally?
So we only expected to do one gig, and then we did a second one because we enjoyed it so much. And it spread through word of mouth, and by the third or fourth one we had a line down the block, because most of the gigs are in houses. And we realized we had to figure out a way to get everybody in, so we started doing more of them, and then we started filming them, and people heard about it around the world and just said, hey, in Lisbon, in LA, in Melbourne, I've got the same problem. Nobody listens to music anymore. And so we said, great, start it there. And we empowered people to start it, and they chose to call it Sofar in cities. First a few, Paris and New York were actually our next two, and then it just spread. And all along we just said, do it, but just respect the music. And now it's grown way more than we ever intended.
So you have over 200 cities, right?
263 cities.
Wow.
As of today, and adding about one or two a month. And just random cities that I hadn't heard of. I've learned a lot about geography through Sofar.
Yeah, it's a great way to have an excuse to travel for the job, going to attend concerts in other cities.
It's pretty incredible.
And then on that note, have you noticed geographically any difference in the Sofar communities or environments, and what are some of those most significant differences?
First thing is really about what's the same, and the same is that people are quiet and focused on the music, and that it's crazy nice, and we're not the only ones to do house gigs. It's been going on for centuries, but it's just similarity is the first thing I would say, and that when you're intimately involved in a living room or a small space, incredible. The differences revolve around, I would say, creative cities versus maybe bigger cities or smaller ones with less of a heritage. So creative, I mean like a place like Berlin, Austin, Texas, Portland, Brighton in the UK. Those cities, it's a little more expected. Whereas a place like a big city like London or New York or Sydney, Australia, or Dallas, or somewhere where they're less used to sort of experimental concepts,
right,
it catches on faster. Second difference is the local music. So I love it when we hear music like in Brazil that is in Portuguese, and that adds a more, sometimes Latin America it's more festive. People tend to dance more. And people tend to be, like in Scandinavia, a little more respectful and
more reserved in the audience.
Reserved and clapping, yeah. So it's colored by the local, the type of music scene and the people who come, but the commonality makes it a global community.
And it's kind of two parts, right? Because people apply to go to the gigs, and then they're also the musicians applying to play at the gigs. So has it been interesting to kind of navigate, kind of not only connecting people who have a thirst for hearing live music, but also dealing with up-and-coming musicians throughout kind of this global phenomenon that's been created?
Yeah, it's the thing is, it's incredible how more people wanted to come or play than we can fit. And so the first thing we've done early days, when people wanted to come especially, we would just sort of randomly pick people or ask them a few questions about who they were and if they're music fans. And the musicians are always reviewed by, as you found out, by the local community. They just say, hey, is this right for our community in LA or Melbourne or wherever it is? And what's great is the coming together, the musicians being in the audience, maybe like yourself, and then saying, I want to play, and the fans, when they travel the world, saying, hey, I'm on a holiday in Paris, well, maybe there's a Sofar, and I can meet some local people.
Right, and kind of building a Sofar community through the cities that have the events.
Yeah, people are traveling and touring, and it's crazy how you can sit next to someone who may not be from that city, but might be there visiting.
And I already heard there's been a Sofar wedding.
Yeah, so two people met at Sofar in Istanbul, and then they were on a trip together a year later in Milan, and he decided to propose to her at the Sofar in front of everyone to start off the gig.
Wow.
Happily, she said yes.
Yeah, that would have been an awkward show if she had said no.
Yeah, and so and they've got
maybe they'll have some Sofar artists playing at their wedding.
Sofar babies.
Yeah.
From marriage, who knows?
So far, so good. The list goes on. And with everything kind of changing in the music landscape, with like Spotify and streaming and stuff, how do you see Sofar Sounds kind of fitting into this changing musical landscape in the coming years?
So a lot of what we're doing is pulling it back, meaning away from technology, away from streaming and looking online, and just saying, we're all human. The most amazing thing is to listen to live music.
Right.
That's number one. And number two, a lot of live music venues are closing, the smaller ones especially. So we're giving artists a place to play that they may have less and less. And we're telling fans there's nothing that beats the live music experience. It's great to listen on your phone or your computer, don't get me wrong, but it needs that balance of actually getting out and listening and meeting other people.
Right.
Where we'd like to go with it is that Sofar becomes an alternative, that wherever you go in the world, on that night, you can decide that you want an intimate experience. We're never going to replace being in a stadium, but we'd like to be available in all the great creative cities around the world on any given night. And that community then can know that they have a Sofar, like you might have an Airbnb or an Uber, something real and tangible on that night when you're in that place.
Yeah, connecting music back to the source. And a saying that I learned in Brazil actually was, strangers are friends you haven't met yet, and that's definitely proven true for the Sofar community, like through being a musician and also attending shows. It's like the people you meet along the way just like provides you with unexpected connections all over the globe. So well done on starting a global phenomenon. And everybody, thanks so much for watching. This has been Meredith Baker with On the Map, Off the Radar, and you need to go to sofarsounds.com to sign up to go to a Sofar event in a city near you.
Yay.
Yay.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.